Loud. Howdy. Okay, I got one hello. I say howdy. Okay, some highs. I say howdy because I'm from Texas. I don't sound that Texan, but I did grow up there. It's true. My name is Aaron. I also have Cormac here. We're from the Azure PowerShell team. We've actually got just one slide and then 2 demos. We really want to show off some of the cool stuff that we're doing. So for some of you up front, it's totally cool. You can stay up front. We're going to slide over here for the demos. I have a quick question. Who here uses PowerShell? Yes. Yes. This is no. Okay, we got one no, but a sea of yeses, which is awesome. How about Azure PowerShell? Awesome. What about PowerShell on Mac or Linux? Has anyone tried that out? Okay, we got a few. What about PowerShell on Docker? Okay, like 1. That's awesome. I'm going to show you that today real briefly, so if you've ever wanted to try that out, you can totally try it out. The first thing we're going to talk about is some of the new things that we've done, and I'm just going to stand up here because it feels a little more central, if you don't mind. We will do questions at the end, but we only have 20 minutes, so we've got about 3 or 4 minutes on this slide, and then 2 7-minute-ish demos, and then we'll do some questions at the end. So we've got a lot of support coming out. Did anyone see the keynote by Scott Guthrie and Corey Sanders today? Yes. Corey Sanders briefly showed the Azure PowerShell in the Cloud Shell. The Cloud Shell is the shell in the portal. Please check that out. It's lighting up today. You go to the portal, click the little shelly icon, the caret or whatever you want to call it at the top right, and you'll get a shell right in your portal. It's pretty awesome. We've also added PowerShell core support. That means that you can run Azure PowerShell on a Mac or Linux machine natively. We've only got a few modules supported, and I actually updated these slides, but they didn't get updated. We've got a few more coming down the pipe. SQL, Key Vault, and Storage Data Plane are coming down the pipe. So we're moving modules slowly over from Azure PowerShell on Windows to building them against .NET Standard, .NET Core, so that they'll work on Mac and Linux. In addition, we're shipping Docker containers. We've got the massive 5 GB one that builds on a Windows container. So if you want to download 5 GB, you can totally do that. We've also got the smaller one that runs on PowerShell Core. It's a smaller Ubuntu image, I believe, that we build the core modules on top of. We've got new support for preview and experimental modules. So for a lot of our customers, that's all of you, we get comments that you'd like to see us see new features faster. But we also want to keep everything stable. So we've pioneered this, it's groundbreaking. No one has ever done this before. It's called preview. I don't think anyone has ever done previews before. But basically, we'll allow our service teams to ship preview modules that have new features, new functionality, maybe even some improvements, without breaking any of the existing commandlets. Then once those are hardened, they get your feedback, they improve it, they'll bring it over into the stable product. Then the last 2 things we have that we're going to show as demos is my friend Cormac over here is going to show you a context persistence demo. That means that you can go in and out of PowerShell anywhere you want. You could put your context file in your OneDrive, let's say, walk on over to your, well, or drive or bus, however you get to work. Walk over to your work machine, pull up your context from inside your OneDrive, and be logged into Azure PowerShell from there as well. You can also store all of your different profiles, things like that. And then I will show you some experimental improvements. You saw one of the commands today at Corey's keynote, or Scott's keynote that Corey presented in, and I'll show you some of that in just a second as well. So right now, I'm going to have Cormac come up, and he's going to show you some context persistence awesomeness. There's that slide for you. That's my slide.
Good. Can you hear me? Awesome. So, like Aaron said, my name's Cormac. I'm a developer on Azure PowerShell team. One of the things that we wanted to work on was, I don't know about you guys, but whenever you log into PowerShell and you have no session, you have to either add Azure RM account, log in Azure RM account, or import a context, or add some script to your profile script that loads up whenever you open up PowerShell. But right now, what we have is the functionality to just open PowerShell, and you can just run get Azure RM context to see what you're logged into. And we've got a context. So you've probably seen something like this if you ever want to know what context you're in, what subscription you're using, what account you're using, what environment you're in. But now we've added the ability to persist this, so when you log in, you have this context. But not only that, you can now have multiple contexts. So if you run the same exact command, but with dash list available, you can see all of the applicable contexts that I have in a session. So you can see that I have the one that I've logged in with, the Scott PH, and then I have another context for a node account that I'm working with, and then a completely different account, different email to the Microsoft one that I have, one for school. So what we can do is you've got the get Azure RM context up here, and you've got the Scott PH, but you can now do select Azure RM context, and you can do dash name wherever it is, and you can actually tab through the different contexts that you have on your machine. So if I want to switch over to the node context, I can do that, and you can see pops up as the output, and then I can just verify. So yeah, that's one of the things. And to add a context, remove a context, we have all of the different commandlets that you can use. You can just use help or get help, and you can just search for context, and you can see all the different ones we have. Set, remove, select, rename. I think rename is the best one, because I think when you set a context or log in, it's going to give you this whole random string of your account name and your subscription. So you always want to rename it. And we support a lot of different pipeline scenarios. So you'll be able to pipe from get Azure RM context to rename to set to remove, all that kind of stuff. So you can see that we have all like the different context commandlets that we've added for the latest Azure PowerShell that was released today. And this is an opt-in feature. By default, you're going to not notice any changes. When you do get Azure RM context, and when you first open up PowerShell, unless you have import Azure RM context, it's going to show nothing. But now you have to run enable Azure RM context autosave, and that will enable it for you so that when you close a session and reopen it, it'll be on the last context that you were logged in with. Another cool thing that this allows us to do is we can now run jobs with Azure RM commandlets. So we can run, say, start job, and we can pass in script where we run get Azure RM resource, and just run that in the current job, and that'll just run in the background, and we can, however you want to query, and just wait until it's done. We see it's completed on the last one. Receive job. Number one, and you can see we can get all our resources from that job. Another cool thing that has been enabled whenever this stops is we can run the exact same thing, the exact same job, but what we can do is we can pass in a context this time. So we can do start job and pass in a param. We can say $sign context, and we can do get Azure RM resource group or resource. And we can pass in a default profile, which is going to be the context. So we can be in one context and pass in another context. So in the last one, I was running under the node account, and we can run in argument list, and we want to get Azure RM context. Let's misspell that. I want to get, let's say, this Scott PH account. Close that. And so now we have another job spun up, and we can get the job. It's running. So we can see it's completed, so we can do receive job number 3. And it's a completely different set of resources. So you can see that we have the ability now to be in one context, run commandlets as a job in another context, and switch between those. So it gives us much more functionality. Gives you the ability to not wait if you're creating a VM and be hung on this one PowerShell page. You can now create a VM in the background, start it as a job, and just query and see when it's done, and continue on with your work. You don't have to wait anymore for this to complete. I'm going to hand it back to Aaron, and he's going to do some new commandlets that Corey was demoing today.
Yeah, thanks, Cormac. Gotta find the slot again. Okay, I'm back. Give it up for Cormac. That was awesome. I'm going to show us some experiments. You saw it, like Cormac said, very briefly earlier today, but we wanted to show it off a little bit more. And so the first thing we're going to do, I'm actually in a This is not going to work because I'm remote desktop, and for some reason it wants to change my size. So I might have to make it a bit smaller. Is that legible even slightly? No, that doesn't look legible at all. Let's try, okay, and clear isn't working either. Let's do, there we go. How's that? Is that a little bit better? Okay, and we're just gonna, even though clear is not doing what I want it to do, here we go. So one of the things that we've gotten a lot of feedback about is the fact that creating resources can be a tad long in Azure PowerShell. Has anyone created a VM using just scripts? Okay, how, was it painful? Okay, I got someone that was like this and somebody else who was like this. It requires a lot. And for some of us, we're maybe DevOps and we just want to sit down, type one command and get a VM and then connect to it. So what we've done is we've added a few experimental commandlets, and I'm going to show off some of the job stuff. And right now they're in experimental modules. So you can try them out today. You can install them from the gallery, look up Azure RM experiments. You can try them out today. And all we have to do is pass a name. If I could type something like that. Let's go with 3. 3 is better than 2. And what Cormac showed you is that we have job functionality, and we're starting to add this job functionality to commandlets themselves. So you can just say, I want this commandlet to return a job. I know that provisioning a VM takes about 5 minutes or so I want to provision it as a job. And I'm also going to make the size just a little bit bigger so that it provisions a little bit faster. And I get the credential box like we know and love. If you don't know, I'm famous on Twitter. I've got about 107 followers. That's my Twitter handle right there. So you enter your credentials. The job will kick off here in just a second. And I'm going to check my time while we're waiting for just a few things. Okay, good. I'm checking my Twitter. Cool. Come on, do the job. All right, that's okay. We'll slide over for a second here. We're going to dismiss these. I also wanted to show you the Docker support. So this is a Mac machine. No hand waving, it's true. I'm running a Mac. I'm running my machine on Mac. I'm going to run a Linux Docker container in my Mac. So you can also do this today. Azure SDK / Azure PowerShell core. Just like that. It's not going to be able to find the image. It's going to pull it down real quick. Hopefully the internet isn't too slow, and we'll see that in just a second. I'm going to be switching back and forth, so it's a little bit easier for us to get everything done. The next thing I want to show you while we're waiting for this job, if we want to, we can check on the job like you know and love in PowerShell, and it's still running, so we're not ready yet. Let's see if we can clear now. Okay, we can half clear, I guess. What we're going to do is also create a new web app. So we have some web app creation commandlets. I just hit tab here, we're waiting. Okay. I'm going to pass a name. Let's do Aaron app and then some random digits here. Let's not do quite so many. And we also want to make it way easier. So if you don't care about the resource group, if you don't care about anything, you can just pass an auto flag and we'll provision all of that for you. So I'll hit enter here. We'll create the web app, slide back over here while we're waiting. And there's always a little bit of pain when using PowerShell on Docker right now. But we are now in PowerShell. I can use dir on the Linux container that I'm running right now. I can also use my Azure PowerShell commandlets. So if I want to log in, I can log in Azure RM account. We don't have the ability to pop that nice little IE frame that you get in Windows on a core, especially in Docker. So we use the device login. which is you just take this ID and then you paste it into aka ms/device login. I don't know if you've seen this yet. Oh, it's kind of cut off, but you just paste it in there. Say you want to log in. We wait for a second, and then we'll be authenticated, and I can get my resources. Cool. The other thing I wanted to show you here is you'll notice that right after my web app was finished provisioning, Azure PowerShell actually noticed that I am in a Git repository, and it automatically added the Git remote Azure to my repository. So I can git remote VV here, and we'll see that I got an Azure endpoint. Yes, it's hard to read. Yes, you could take a picture, and yes, you could push random code to that repository right now. But if we were to push to this, my code will go straight up there. So I can just git push Azure master, and that will take the code for my web app that's in this directory, push it up to Azure, provision the web app, and then you can navigate to that web app right then. So I'm not going to do that right now just because it takes a little while. And the last thing I wanted to show you, I think we're running a little bit low on time, is we can check that job that we kicked off earlier for the VM. Oh, it failed. So sad. But still cool. We can see why that job failed. So we'll receive job on the job, and it looks like I provisioned too large of a VM. I am sorry, that's my bad. I guess my account has a limit on the number of cores that I can provision. But if I didn't have that limit, you could receive job just like you can with any other job in Azure. And we also return the fully qualified domain name for you. So you can mstsc/v on that VM that instant, right as the VM is done provisioning. I'll slide back over here just to show you real. Sometimes the terminal is a little there. Okay, all right, good job. Despite the fact that it looks weird, I can still list my resource groups here after logging in. So there I have a resource group right there. So I just showed you Azure PowerShell running in a Docker container on Mac. I showed you Azure PowerShell, some of our new commandlets using the as job, and I also showed you the web app where we automatically create a Git remote for you and you can push to it. So that will end the demos. If you have any questions, here is our contact information. If I could get that to display the slideshow, and then we'll answer some questions. Like I said, super famous on Twitter. Yes? So, two things. We asked about remoting on Mac and Linux or Docker in PowerShell. If you want to remote with RDP, that works fine. You take that fully qualified domain name and you can use the remote desktop in Mac. The remote experience in PowerShell core right now is still scheduled. It is not fully done yet. So if you're looking, I mean, you can work around it today. There's a blog post. If you look up Azure PowerShell Mac remote or like PS remoting, you will find an article on how to work around that. They're currently working on making that easier if you need to remote, like PS remote from PowerShell. If you create a Linux VM, you can turn around and SSH into that VM from a Mac or Linux machine, just like you always would. Is there another? Yeah.
What about with the persistent context, multi-factor authentication? How does that work whenever you switch to another device?
So when you authenticate, we actually have an authorization token that we hold for you. It won't work if you do it for multiple, like more than 2 weeks or something like that. But the device auth is kind of a lie. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But you get an auth token back. It's kind of like you're saying, I'm here, Azure doesn't know that I'm normally here, and I just need you to give me a token for this product real quick. And so we get the token, and then that token is persisted when you save the context. So it should work on another device. I admit I haven't actually tested that scenario, but it's just an auth token. It's not special to that device. Yeah. So again, that should still work the same way. If you either use login Azure RM account or a service principal or anything, that context is persisted with a token. If it's more than 2 weeks and we can't refresh the token, then it's not going to work. But if it's been within that time span of 2 weeks, the token is still just your token to authenticate, so it doesn't really matter what authentication method you used. Any other questions? Awesome. Like I said, please feel free to email us. We're doing 3 more sessions if you want to come ask us other questions or find us. We're at the booth in the South Hall Expo, so if you go find the Azure area, we're under Azure Tools. And please come up and let us know if you have any private questions that you don't want to say publicly. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.